This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
I have edited over 500 things in my lifetime, Jeff. Maybe even more than that in the podcast world if I was going to tally them all together, and I'm so excited to talk about editing. No one ever asked me about editing, Jeff. I'm sure you've got a lot of questions. I have a lot of answers tonight, so let's do it. Editing Talk with Chris and Jeff. Let's go. New theme song.
I'd say the best part about editing is looking out and seeing the smile on children's faces. Christopher Novembrino.
Oh yes, I think so much has been lost in modern editing. I look back to the real pioneers of editing from the 60s and 70s, back when people had to edit with their hands. And it's something that's lost in the craft today.
Yeah, I'm calling in because you say you've edited hundreds of these shows, but they're all kind of lousy still, so what's up with that? Are you an idiot?
Caller, hey, stop talking for a second. Are you listening up? I'm not the idiot, you're the idiot.
I disagree. I think you are.
All I did was get one little end of one sound wave wrong, and it didn't line up with the other thing, and then everyone's telling me I'm not any good at this.
Everyone's a mess in wrestling. Aren't they? I mean, everything's a mess.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not exactly been a banner series of news weeks for AEW, WWE, or now NWA, has it?
Oh, so where would we like to start on this week? Because the banter would be about wrestling anyways. We bantered for about 10 minutes before we hit play, or actually 20.
I needed to make tea. I get thirsty. My throat gets parched. It's important to take care of the vocal cords when I'm making these high quality podcasts.
Well, you know what? We were trending towards being an NWA show. Let's start with the heavy stuff.
I would say that trend is probably coming to a screeching halt in the wake of this week.
Yeah, so Jim Cornette on this week's episode, called, I believe, The Phoenix Rises, makes a comment that he has recycled, much like the Jerry Lawler joke book. Jim Cornette has a joke book and a set of standard lines as well. Quote, should I quote it? I don't think I should quote. Okay.
You know what? Honestly,
For context,
I think you should. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. So many people who have been trying to defend the quote have been afraid to even say the quote. And I think that's sort of a damning indictment on it. And so with that caveat, let's say it.
I will transpose kind of, because I don't know it word for word, but it goes some to the effect of this. When talking about someone's toughness, he said this about Trevor Murdoch. He also said this about Big Bubba Rogers. He's the kind of guy who could strap a bucket of fried chicken onto himself and walk or motor through Ethiopia.
Yeah, sometimes he uses motor scooter in certain phrasing.
Motor scooter, yes.
Yeah.
Because it goes slower
than
a motorcycle.
Yeah, that's right.
He said walk with Bubba Rogers. That doesn't fly in 2019.
You know, I'm not sure that it flew.
Or it ever did. I was never going to say
no.
Look, I'm not... Let's get right to the point out here. Nobody is going to defend Jim Cornette on this show. Really,
not on this fucking show. Pardon my French.
Show.
Yeah,
not
but no, absolutely not. That is a joke that's intrinsically racist because every part of that joke trades in negative tropes about African American and African people. It trades on stereotypes of starving Africans, and then also the fact that all black people all over the world love fried chicken. It's a horrible, horrible joke.
Yeah, there are other foods you could have used there. Probably, it'd still be insensitive. I mean, it'd be, if you said a bag of hamburgers.
Yeah, I think the starvation crisis in Ethiopia,
it's over. Yeah, so we solved that with We Are the World, don't you know? All those bags of grain rotting on docks everywhere. Yeah, and so Jim Cornette has resigned. Of course, it is the standard the standard celebrity person in power who doesn't really want to go, but is kind of being forced out apology. Either the can't anyone take a joke, I don't understand why people are overreacting, or I'm sorry to anybody who was ever offended. Just lame. Just friggin' lame. And Jim Cornette, here's the problem. He gets no goodwill because of all the crap he's been saying about people like Justin Roberts, where he said he looked was it he or was it Bischoff that said he looked like a pedophile? I can't remember.
No, I think it was Cornette who made the joke like that. Yeah.
I mean, look, the internet is not the place for subtext. So if you go on a message board of any kind, you get the lowest common denominator, both anger and defense, which is ridiculous.
Boy, dude, some of the defenses of Cornette are, as I said, they are always free of the operant quote, and I don't think that's an accident.
No, I mean, there are some bad will defenses. There have been a couple people who have tried in good faith to say, hey, what he said was bad. Do we need to fire him? And that, I don't, because I've talked to a couple people live in person. We had lunch, and someone said that, and I said, I don't think you can let that go.
Yeah, I don't think you can not fire him.
But I don't think he was coming from a place where it was like, well, I want to protect the racist. And I think there are some people here who are knowledgeable of wrestling history and the bad people who have been in it that just kind of want to make a good faith attempt to say, hey, I don't care if you fire him, but do we need to? And I think there is that space, but it's not right now.
There's a different space, I think, where he doesn't get fired. I'll make the argument for it. I'll flesh it out here.
I'll listen to you because I was trying to make it and I couldn't, because I think he loses his job no matter what. But I think it's mostly on the basis. I don't know if it's on the basis of the joke itself or just that he hasn't built up any goodwill to defend himself from making a verbal faux pas.
So the issue is the organization. I say the way he's able to keep his job is if there's actually a responsible organization at NWA and people who are responsible in the editing room and people who, one, pay attention when they edit the show, two, listen to the show once they're done making the show. Watch the show. But these are steps that I take myself. And then three, if you're going to delay the release, why not watch it one more time before you put it to air? If there have been responsible people doing their job there, and if NWA as an organization had those fail-safes in place, there would have been the opportunity to pull Jim Cornette aside and go, hey, whoa, buddy, that joke, I know you were just in the moment, you were going through the joke book, you pulled out that joke, you got it out, and you probably maybe even had a second thought about it as you were saying it, but you were halfway through the sentence and we're live and we're doing it on tape. I get that there's only one take on this stuff, but we need to go in and just do a quick punch-in on that. If that happens, we probably never even hear about that. That's not even probably a Meltzer-level rumor. I think we just never hear about the story at all. And so in that scenario, I don't think Jim Cornette has to lose his job. So what I would say to the people who are upset that Jim Cornette lost his job, one of the big reasons he had to go is because NWA as an organization does not have the fail-safes in place. It's an HR level problem too. They have real organizational issues that I think to just fire Jim Cornette and to send him into exile really misses the point. The point is that this was not a live-to-television show. It was something you taped and edited. So the whole excuse that Nick Aldis volunteered of, well, I think it's good that we promptly took it down and edited out the offensive quote. No, that quote never should have been there, dude.
I was not as harsh on Aldis's apology as you were, because I think he was trying to do it in good faith and say, hey, we took it down and we put it back up, and hey, I'm sorry, because people are going to be going at him trying to explain away what Cornette did. And I think he had to basically offer some kind of apology to get people off his back. But I agree with you. You know what? I'm sure they have 2 or 3 people on headsets listening to the show as they're doing it, getting camera angles, producing all the general things you do in live television sports, who heard it. And maybe somebody should have brought up then, hey, do we need to mark this for edit or not? But then when you go into post and you're listening to it, something has to trigger you in order to say, hey, you know what? This might not be the best thing to make air. Now, if it comes out that came up, and someone said, no, you don't have a sense of humor or whatever, then you bring the wrath of God down on these people. I especially, but this, I think it's indefensible in many ways. You have 2 or 3 layers here that it got through, and that's a problem, much like the ACH shirt. You can be you try to explain it away as incompetence versus menace or whatever, but you can't save the guy on this.
No, I don't think you save the guy, but I'll go back to all this. One, we talked about this, and I said that this was an elective fight that he elected to fight. And so if you're going to do that, I don't think the phrase in poor taste really fully encapsulates.
It wasn't strong enough for you.
No, I don't think it's strong enough to aptly describe the level of a joke that people are scared to say out loud. It's beyond in poor taste. It's an offensive joke. And so to say it's unnecessary, it's not. It's the other thing that Lagana said, where some people were upset. No, it's an offensive joke. If you wouldn't say that joke, the reason you wouldn't say that joke is because it offends people.
Yeah, I think the standard for all these crisis management PR firms and whatnot. Here's your template. We messed up. We're sorry. It won't ever happen again. And then just go away for a while. Go the F away. Because this explaining, you don't see, you see, blah, blah, with this Myles Garrett situation in football today, it comes out that Myles Garrett, in order to try and avoid a suspension, is now saying, well, somebody called me a bad word. Well, that doesn't explain away the fact that you tried to brain a dude with a helmet. Okay? Just say you're sorry. You say you're sorry, and that's the crux of it. And that's it. Not, I'm sorry, but here's what happened. I'm sorry, but here's an explanation. Everything after but is BS. Just say you're sorry. That's all I want out of people these days. It's so simple.
Lagana had another phrase like that, or in his sort of explanation of this, I thought that was weak. And ditto with Corgan. I just think, and NWA's statement today.
Yeah, they're trying to protect the company, and it's just, it comes off as weak sauce.
Some of it is PR trying to cover your ass stock phrasing, but there's another thing that I think a lot of people are attenuated to, where those phrases, when assembled in a certain order, take the form of a non-apology apology.
Yes, and that's what those things are intended for. It's, I'm sorry, but I'm actually legitimate in being a terrible person and doing all these bad things. So once I say all these things, you'll come around to my side. And it's like, no, that's not really an apology. You're just trying to explain it away still.
Oh, they used the phrase, not pleasing was another way that they described. I mean, come on, dude. Like, not pleasing.
God, and you and I are from different ideological sides of the tracks on most things. Though. I know. It's so weird that it's like, look, we're both just saying, look, own up to this stuff. I can. It's just, how do you? Now, okay, here's what's worse: was Jim Cornette basically being defiant, or the Lagana Corgan explanation? All this thing's worse. Which was worse?
Boy, I gotta say, for Cornette,
it's a theoretical question.
It is. I'm gonna say Cornette, because Cornette's got this whole brand of being a liberal and being a guy who's pretty enlightened. And I think that the right answer for Cornette, especially the way for him to save face, is he should have said something like, wow, I realized after we taped that was even if this isn't true at all. Wow, I realized after we taped that this is a big mistake. I said that's a joke that belongs in the 20th century and in the dustbins of the 20th century. And I went to Corgan, I went to Lagana, I went to all of them, and I was like, you guys should probably pull that out. And they never did. I don't know why.
I see his brand more as opinionated provocateur with a loose, far too loose language to be kind of like a 12-year-old edgelord type of thing on the internet, where he's saying not just critical things, but possibly vile critical things to get his point across. And it doesn't work for him.
Well, he's reached diminishing returns, and this is what happens.
He's a grown-ass man is what he is, and he should act like a grown man when he does these things.
Well, those great shoot videos were like 15, 20 years ago now, too.
Yeah,
and so, his shtick has hit diminishing returns, and there are a bunch of former pundits from all over the political spectrum, just to avoid a debate. I'm not going to name them, but you watch the arc of some of these guys that you remember from 15 years ago. They are on much, much, much smaller platforms, like, go and check out what Larry King's been doing these days. Like, they reach an end of their life cycle, and then, you know, in order to keep any level of interest at all, you have to say more and more bombastic and sensationalistic things. That's how you keep the audience in, and I think Cornette's doing that with his own brand. Yeah,
he has a brand, and he's trying to protect the brand. That's. I swear, I think a lot of the Conrad hosts also have a quote-unquote brand, and I think at first Meltzer was in on it in terms of providing Wrestling Observer newsletters for people to react to, as opposed to, you know, just a subscriber who collected old newsletters and then had access to all those. You know, I think a lot of wrestling podcasting can be a work at times, and I think you know.
No way! Wait! You're saying there's some workers in this business?
Yes, you know, the old carny. So before we just drop NWA altogether, what did you think of what do you think of the play, Mr. Lincoln?
It lost me somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say the show is a mess. Beyond everything else, I think we have been discussing a show that was arcing into a messy direction, and this episode was the messiest one yet. I think Thunder Rosa continues to be a star, and one of the things that I'm like most frustrated about Cornette doing what he did is like, this I thought was a really great vehicle for her, and she is someone who has not always had the greatest television vehicles to kind of showcase what her act is about, and this was doing a really nice job of that, and now there's this stink all over the whole thing. That really sucks. But the question mark, I feel like we have to talk about the question mark.
Has blown up spectacularly in their faces. It has, because they intended one thing, and it's become another, and now they can't stop it.
Right, and they have only been able to marginally write around it, and the biggest problem is, if they didn't have a cluster F of a main event picture and mid-card picture between James Storm and Nick Aldis, and like all of the dramas that surround them with Eli Drake, with all of that, then you have the question mark coming in here, and like, let's keep it real. That audience right now, as I'm leaving that episode, they want the question mark to be the North American champion.
Yeah, they've accidentally gotten into this heel face baby team because I don't think they planned on having it happen.
Absolutely
like that.
Not.
And you know what? I think next TV tapings you're going to see them have Aaron Stevens turn on the question mark just to get that nipped in the bud. Who knows who their new color commentator will be?
Do you think they're going to cut the question mark angle? Do you think that they're going to... Because I don't think they should run from it either. As much as this whole thing's blown up in their faces, here's the thing. That Josephus guy... We can't really do the Josephus character, and the Josephus character is actually mildly offensive, and especially after this whole thing with Jim Cornette. Maybe try walking a tighter line, NWA. Just throwing that one out there if you're still listening to us.
I'll tell you something. I'm intrigued now by the question mark gimmick.
Intrigue. That's what the question mark fosters.
Well, yes, but I'll tell you why. Is because one of my... It's from a comic book thing again, because you know a lot of my growing up was based on comic books, and that's how I lost myself in fantasy and learned how to write stories and stuff. But they have an interesting thing here where everybody knows it's Josephus under the mask, and Josephus is that Bugsy McGraw type heel type thing where he's a little bit too clever by half in terms of being more of a comedy guy than a rough and tough brawler guy. But you have the opportunity here to have, there's a comic book called Thunderbolts, where a group of bad guys, seeing that the heroes had been taken away from Earth, decide that they're going to pretend to be heroes to get goodwill so they can get away with plans. But it turns out some of the villains end up liking being heroes and love getting the adoration, being liked and being, looked up and like doing things on the straight and narrow. If the producers of NWA have creativity, you could do a nice little fighting with redemption story, even if you reintroduce the Josephus character back out here, because everybody knows what's going on here, where, in order to do good things, he has to be the question mark. But when he comes out and beats Josephus, there's the expectation he needs to be a heel, and so you have moral conflict there. That could be interesting.
No, I like this. And this also keeps the question mark from having to be a main event angle and overheating. So I really like this. No, this is actually a strong little detour for the Josephus question mark character, and then you can return to him chasing for the North American title once he's able to overcome this reconciliation of self angle. I actually like this a lot.
Yeah, he can make a decision and go either heel or babyface once and for all, and then, whatever. But, they did something very similar with Eddie Gilbert when one of his short stints in the NWA that I really love, where it's like, I used to be a bad person, but now I'm learning to do things the right way. It was kind of cool because they had him on a team with Ron Simmons, and it was in a U.S. tag team tournament, and Gilbert's like, now's the time to cheat, and Ron Simmons wouldn't let him, and it just drove him insane. So, there's some interesting things in here, but they still have a lot of loose ends. I love Dave Marquez this week, just being the interrogating reporter and just, getting shot down about the Camille stuff. I love Joe Galli's, I'm going to get these answers, Jim. And Jim's like, you're an idiot. I liked that. But there are way too many blurred lines here for my liking. And I wish they would decide whether or not they are the wild cards or wild card, because I'm getting both and I'm tired of it.
Yeah, no, that gimmick is, it's not a good gimmick either, too. No, I don't think either one of those two guys are particularly compelling. And there are issues with this show. The parts that are more straightforward, for example, the women's division, not necessarily lighting your world on fire, but like straightforward, easy to follow, looks good, plays well on the screen. I still want to see like the little Thunder Rosa doc that they've got of her going into the MMA. They have some pieces. They have a couple pieces, but not many. And they really they need to, if they're gonna ever have any goodwill at all, they can't just act like they're going to walk past this one. This is bad. And the organization, it's got to be more than just fire Cornette. Yeah, Melina doesn't move the needle too much for me. I like her personally, but why did she even need to be involved in this angle? I don't actually get that. Because I think they were looking for something for her to do. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't view this as a value added for Thunder Rosa, because she already had Marty Bell doing this thing where she was echoing what Thunder Rosa said. Ashley Vox is pretty good. I hope they bring her sister in as well. The one thing, and I do like Thunder Rosa, I just can't stand the timpani stuff. When there's a major happening that's going to happen. Yes, yeah. The weird timpani drums that increase frequency until somebody decides to do something, and then it's just like, okay, it felt like it was overdubbed because nobody in the audience reacted to anything in it, so it's like, okay, that's a bit much. It's a bit too cute by half, but and I liked Aldis and Murdoch. I thought that was a nice little match. I thought the story there was pretty good. It's hard to I'm with you. You're a crafty bastard, but I respect you. That was so weird because I went back and I was like, where did he cheat? He did the nut shot, I think, didn't he? Did he? Yeah, with the ropes. Oh, okay. And that's not what a babyface does. That's not what somebody pure does. For sure. Thank you, internet fan. You're welcome. Okay. Let's get to the Federation then. Couple of quick notes. One got held hostage in Saudi Arabia this week, so I think that's a big plus for them. Good news week. Thanks, Tony Khan. I got some AEW jokes, too. I got jokes all around. Well, that was the big news. NXT did beat AEW in the ratings. A little bit over 900,000 for NXT, with all the plugging on Raw that main roster people were going to be there. How did NXT do in the demo, my friend? Oh, you are on this. It did not do as well in 18 to 49 as AEW did, but it did better in 50 plus, which is those aren't even people. Those are the WWE fan base right now, the majority of them. Well, it's good that they don't have any money and they don't buy stuff. No, okay, so I'll drop the jokes here a little bit. The numbers have been going down across the board. I see people always cherry picking the numbers for NWA Power or AEW, and you can stack it up and you can massage the internals and get to the demo, and that's great. But the reason you're even talking about the demo is to avoid talking about the raw total, which across the board for all of this wrestling product is trending down because there's too much of it, because people are oversaturated and people are having to pick out their time. So I do a politics show. I'm really into basketball. I like wrestling too. Wednesday night was hell for me. I had been watching news and politics stuff all day. I had to decide between 11 different NBA games and also 2 wrestling shows. And a debate was happening. It's 14 different things, Hawkins. Not all at the same time, but it's enough things that eventually you have to make a decision about what you're doing with 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock. And everyone's going through that, and it's splitting the baby.
I think there's something to that. I think there's a lot to the fact that airing wrestling live hurts on the West Coast for a lot of numbers. And then by the time you get to a replay, you just basically have DVR'd it and you decide what to watch. I think the wrestling itself has cannibalized itself. The night to watch wrestling is Monday night. It has been for 24 years, 25 years almost. People watch 3 hours mostly on Monday nights, and then they're done with
something
wrestling.
For Saturday, maybe.
Maybe they'll watch a pay-per-view, maybe they'll watch a network special, maybe they'll watch one other show.
A little 1 hour, little kicker for Saturday night, especially if when you were me growing up on Saturday night, I was playing video games all day, and I was waiting for WCW Saturday night to come on, and that was like crappy wrestling. But that's the type of stuff that kids want.
For me, wrestling came on Saturday afternoons, noon or 3 o'clock, and then maybe an evening show or a late night show on Saturday nights up against Saturday Night Live when they knew they'd get killed. I mean, that's what you did. You watched 1 hour and you got out of there. Now you got 3 hours to watch. That's the night people watch. And I also think, look, I'm going to say this and people are going to jump down my throat and I'm fine with it. Look, the crowd is hotter. The matches are pretty darn great on AEW as well, but there's not a whole lot differentiating AEW from any other modern wrestling product. It's in an arena, you have a Titantron, people come down, they have great matches. Okay. Again, this is where promos would help. This is where a lot of things, you get the occasional angle, that's great, but it's professional wrestling.
Yeah, the differentiation's more in vibe and mood and stuff that is not on camera inside of the four walls of your television screen.
Yes, that is too subtle a change to be a difference maker in the industry. You used to cover Lucha Underground.
Yes, sir.
Lucha Underground tried something out of the box.
And you know what's funny is I still will occasionally get people going, oh, I was on Netflix, and I actually watched some of that Lucha Underground. It was pretty interesting. Now, this is not the type of show you'd binge watch, and so the problem there is the medium there. But They watched a few episodes, and they kind of liked the concept, and they liked the vibe that you got in there, the color scheme. Lucha Underground.
The weird cinematic choices that they'd make. They'd give people superpowers all of a sudden.
Those vignettes were cool, dude. They had a vibe about them.
It wasn't my thing, but it was out of the box thinking. I mean, I'd much rather have,
It was a different thing, and it was its own thing. And that's what matters. I think the problem is a lot of times the WWE alternative ends up feeling like, and I don't mean this pejoratively because some of the stuff on this brand was pretty good. I think you guys know where I'm going. TNA. Good TNA. Not bad TNA. Good TNA. But it has that vibe, which is, I don't know. I don't know what the word is for it, but fluorescent. Maybe the word is just, it's like fluorescent lighting. There's something that's not quite warm about it. There's something that's not, it's not the same as a good friggin' light bulb. It's a fluorescent light bulb.
I'll go. It's polished like the other show. I think that's the difference here. The miking of the crowd is better because it's a hotter crowd in AEW, but it still feels like a very slick, polished, made-for-television wrestling product versus a pro wrestling product on television. If you understand what I'm saying with the difference there.
Yeah, no, a pro wrestling show. A TV show that is a pro wrestling TV show. I think you nailed it. AEW is an arena live show. You were talking before we got on air how you like
Nitro.
watching...
It's Nitro.
Yeah, you like watching it live. And there's something to that, dude, especially when I go back and watch the old Nitros and I think about the way I used to feel watching those. I felt like I was in the crowd, and then when I went, oh, man, Nitro ruled. I loved Nitro back in the day. Yeah, no, bro, you're getting the kid out of me. So I get it. That's what AEW is trying to tap into. But... It's tough when we have an on-demand culture which likes to watch stuff, and I'm not saying there's not like a societal thing. I'm saying like television consumers. We watch stuff on demand now. When you're bored, you pull out your phone and you get on YouTube and you go and look up something, and it starts whenever you hit play. That's on demand.
Chris, here's the punchline. I thought when NWA Power announced what they were doing, I thought, oh, this will be an interesting out-of-the-box kind of throwback type thing.
Concept.
But here's the punchline. I thought their strength would be in their editing because they're not going live. I go,
no, because they have to be tighter. We were talking about this. They were going to make them all be 1 hour. You have to pay attention, when you're editing stuff, especially when you need to beat a timestamp. Holy shit. How do they... There's no way you'll ever convince me that no one was unaware of that quote now. Now that you've said it like that, now that you're aware that there's a timestamp, there's no way that they edited that whole thing, reached the end, and we're like, well, that's 60 minutes. I guess we're done here.
It's like we have an hour. We can't screw around, but we can get rid of the rough edges. We can tell the stories we want to tell in a tight space, and there won't be any filler like there are on these 2 and 3 hour, 4 hour juggernaut shows. And we'll edit it, and it'll be tightly controlled. And then this thing happens, and you're just like, why can't I have nice things? Why?
Yeah, that was my immediate reaction. I was just like, oh, good. Another concept is now tainted beyond repair. If you were someone who was offended by that and you said, I just can't do it anymore, bad vibes, I just need to watch something else that I don't have to get over the ickies with, I'd go, I feel you, man. I get it, yeah.
And shout out to PW Torch's Cameron Hawkins, we call each other Cousin Cam and Cousin Jeff, for being the head guy on this to really drive the narrative and really notice this and get it out there. Because, he got it out there, and this is when people started talking, and he was great on this. So kudos to him. We have finished with NWA talk, I think. We have finished with ratings talk. ACH, now ACH, formerly Jordan Miles, the company WWE has given to Fightful.com the statement that he no longer works for us. Thank you. Or he's no longer under contract. Thank you. No further comment. So he is free to take bookings wherever he wants.
But
Good
what about
him.
his future endeavors? Do they wish him well?
I believe that this is going to be buried with ET cartridges in a landfill somewhere, because they know in WWE, if this ever went to court in some ways, the racism angle would not play for any judge or any jury. This is the settlement. Go be you. That's what it, here you go. Goodbye. No future endeavors, no big announcement. Let's make this as stealth as possible and get it out of the way and move on, and maybe nobody will notice because, hey, War Games are this weekend.
No, I think that you're right in a very cynical way. It's smart, right? Like the idea of, if we ever go to court on this, we may have the law on our side, but in order to have the law on our side, we're going to have to argue that the T-shirt, and we'll have to have the T-shirt up there. There'll be headlines about the T-shirt. We'll have to argue that the T-shirt is inoffensive.
At the very least, they'd have to settle. They would have to settle.
Yeah.
There'd be no way. And they wouldn't
damage,
want this.
just the financial damage you do by having that being a news story. When your stock's already kind of on the teeter-totter.
They could pull the CM Punk and try and get continuances and changes of venue. They could, but here's the problem. If this ever went to court, it would get out there, and then public opinion would be off their side. They know, look, lawyers know when to cut bait and make a deal and when they want to take this to the very end. I think McDevitt and his team, who are very brilliant, probably said, our chances of winning this are decent if you go by letter of the law, but the public relations hit we'd take in terms of testimony and who knew what when, and these emails would absolutely kill us. And there's a chance that the jury, if he had a jury, would come back with punitive damages that would be pretty big. So let's just say, hey, if you don't talk about it anymore, we'll give you your release. So he probably signed an NDA, and this is the last you're ever going to hear of him and the WWE.
Well, I mean, it's a weird, strange chapter that has now, at least for a while, come to a close. But he'll be back in a ring at some point, not so distant future, right?
Yeah, he's taking bookings. He's doing indie bookings, I believe, this weekend, even.
Wow.
So
okay.
There's a chance he may show up on AEW eventually. Probably not as a star, but maybe as kind of in that best friends mid-card type thing where all other PWGX seem to go. Well, I mean, former PWGX, whatever. I mean, look, it's the business,
it's the truth. No, yeah, I know. But like the way you're saying it too sort of is like a bit of a slap at the tag division, which I concur with.
I think the tag division's a little weaker than people think, but that's
I agree.
Me.
I agree.
Because we're going to get into what makes a great tag team.
If the Revival came into that tag team division,
they would be talking like Jim Ross, like, hey, we need to hold the tag rope and have 5 seconds in the ring instead of this 4-way.
No, but they would also be the most over. They would be the most over tag team of that company.
Oh, yes. Yeah. No doubt in my mind. Oney Lorcan also requested his release. I don't know because the Voices of Wrestling flagship account was being very coy in that there was a talent still under contract that is going to try and take indie bookings elsewhere, perhaps even in another country. I don't know if they were talking about ACH. I don't know if they were talking about Oney Lorcan. I don't know if they were talking about somebody in another federation altogether. But Oney Lorcan requesting his release. So far, no response from the company. I understand his frustration. I think there are some ways out of this that the company could probably offer him some stuff to stay, but I don't know anything, so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I think he's got room to run still in this company, and I think if you talked to Oney...
But not on 205. I mean,
he doesn't need to be the Cruiserweight champion. What he needs to be is the North American champion in NXT. I think he you could bring him over to NXT UK, get him...
Or he and Birch could have a run somewhere because they were fighting for the tag team titles and had a great match there. They're a great tag team.
They really are. No, they are like... They are an upper middle class man's Revival. Like, they're a really good team. I definitely don't mean that in a pejorative way. That's a great thing to be. Like, Birch and Lorcan are a really, really dynamic tandem. And yeah, I think that there are things for him to do that I don't, for any number of reasons, think were possible for ACH.
So we'll get into the television and then we'll do our previews. I will say this, we will not do too much time on AEW, but please listen to Everything Elite every week on the Voices of Wrestling Network, in addition to Wednesday Night Wars with our friend Garrett Kidney, still broken by WWE. You're either
He'll be back. He loves it. He knows he does.
There are 2 types of people in this world, Chris. There are Phoenix Jackson opener fans, and there are Revival O'Reilly Fish fans. Where was your preference?
I mean, this is like not really close. And I like Phoenix. But
love Phoenix.
Yeah, no, but we're talking about Red Dragon versus the Revival here. Come on.
You could not take the smile off my face. Adhering to tag rules, doing basic tag team things, an absolute clinic. I thought I was 13 sitting in front of my first basic cable box watching Jim Crockett Promotions. I loved this match. I loved everything about it.
Dash is really fun when he has more emotional range and he doesn't have to just work straight heel. I like him when he can get closer to the gray spectrum. It opens him up a lot.
This was 2 teams being very close to the gray spectrum, and I loved it. It's the type of thing which can really, really work because they're such great technicians, but it might not work because they're both heel teams, and the audience has to pick one usually to go with. And you'd think, but it kind of worked because The Revival were seen as returning alumni, but also interlopers.
And also underdogs.
Yes. The one thing that I loved especially about this match is because the thing I hated about this show overall, and I guess we're starting with it because I'm already into it, is the fact that every match had to have a run-in. And this one ended clean. And I loved the ending, too. I loved just Dawson seeing that Dash was going to be unable to help him. And you see that. I love that shot of Dash just basically pawing at the apron, trying to get up. And he couldn't. And he's just like, it's like that scene in a movie where you know you're going to be shot and you just kind of accept it and you take the kill. And I loved it. I think these two teams, I would love to see a best of 71 series every week. Just watching these two teams and seeing what kind of throwback things the Revival bring in, because they brought in Power and Glory again. They brought in a couple of Anderson spots. I forget who did the throw the guy onto the knee spot for the finisher in the 80s, but somebody did that. They just do a lot of they do the Velveteen Dream homage thing better than Velveteen Dream, in my opinion, because they make it serious.
Yeah, and it fits into their system of offense, too. It doesn't feel like a cover band.
And I'll tell you something, it was a bit of a mess up, but Dawson not being able to get the leg all the way over on Fish and kind of spiking his nose a little bit for the blood, I dug it. It looked like a fight, made it a fight to me, made it interesting to me, got me on the edge of my couch going, come on, baby, let's get some dukes on, let's get some clubbering. I loved it. This might be my match of the year.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this match. But like last week, there was some really good stuff on there. People were like, how is NXT going to be able to reproduce this one-time shot? And they keep having different things to put in the bullet.
So let's go through this 2-hour show.
Let's do it. All right, so we got to talk about, first and foremost, Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley.
The man is welcomed back in by William Regal, almost called him Steven Regal. William Regal comes out, cuts a pretty good promo. Becky is the best actress of the NXT Horsewomen, and I just love every time the crowd kind of did a throwback chant, she'd actually react to it naturally as someone who had left and came back would. She liked, the throwback stuff. She brought up the Sasha Becky NXT. I forget the name of the pay-per-view they were on, but that match which really saved her career. But then when they started chanting like Sasha's Ratchet, which is an old NXT thing, she reacted to that. She reacted to this crowd because this crowd ebbed and flowed with her. They liked having her there, but they'd also chant for their favorites still, or people that they liked who used to be there still, and she'd go with the flow, and then
it's like when you go back to high school the year after to go and say hi to a teacher, and you walk back into the building that felt like home for 4 years, and it just immediately does not feel like home anymore, and it's really, really weird.
You like the nostalgia, and you'll go, hey, this is kind of cool, but you also have come back like in 2 or 3 years, and there are people you still know there, and they're like, like one of them will say something like, why are you here? How come you haven't left town? And then, you kind of get that, he's kind of right type of thing, that little tinge of regret that you came back here way too soon. But yeah, no, I got that. I liked Rhea Ripley and Becky for what they gave us. It was interesting. I didn't like the promo by Rhea because I think, look, how many times are you going to make man jokes with Becky? We've heard it
Vince
before.
Loves a good balls joke, though. I mean, who doesn't? Listen to some of those Manscaped promos we did. They were good. They were really good.
But this would start our cavalcade of run-ins of all kinds. But as the match itself, did you have any thoughts up until the run-in by Shayna and the Horsewomen?
It was fine, but it was not a Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley match. No. So, I can't get myself to go, let's, really meaningfully assess this, because I knew we were going to end with a non-conclusion. We were not going to have Rhea Ripley lose to Becky Lynch, and that wasn't going to go vice versa. I mean, if anything, I thought maybe Ripley could get a count out on Lynch, but that's the only way you'd have anything close to clean win. I was leaning towards interference, and there was interference.
Yeah, I was too. I was thinking maybe DQ win for Ripley.
Yeah.
So they could say, oh, she won.
Unfinished
she got a
business.
Victory. Yeah, kind of thing to give that thing for later. Then, of course, Raw women come out. SmackDown women come out. NXT women come out. Kairi Sane is dressed in like Nikki Bella cosplay, which confused me to no end. The baseball cap, basically. I was like, what?
Yeah, no, it's weird because she was getting rawed up. So in order to be on Team Raw, you have to wear Raw colors.
Obviously, Io's going to be on the NXT women's team for Survivor Series because they played up the Kairi Io relationship, which is kind of cool. I
like that they're both heels, but they both still hate each other.
T-shirt wars. That's what this is. This is all T-shirt wars. Went down kind of as expected. My coda for this will be, I loved the promo video for War Games. There's a shot, and I tweeted it out, of the heel team when Shayna's basically kind of looking in the camera and everybody's kind of back, and Kaylee Ray is kind of awesome sitting up there on the turnbuckle with a grin on her face. It looked just like an opening splash page for a comic book where they're introducing the heel team who just beat up Spider-Man or something. I thought that was great. I'm looking forward to this match. We'll preview it in a moment. Any thoughts to clean up on?
No, nothing on that. Matt Riddle defeats Ricochet's next.
Interesting. Kona Reeves doing double duty this week, of all people. Kona Reeves got himself in shape, showing some abs off.
Boy, he looks like no, it's not just the abs though. I mean, the whole frame is much tighter, much more angular. Mm-hmm. Like his legs look tighter, his shoulders look tighter.
He's been working out.
Yeah, he's been working out. Yeah, he's been working out really hard. No, I think I even thought the promo on NXT UK, not a ton to work with there, but not bad.
Let's talk about that during NXT UK because I want to talk about him a little bit more. But yeah, no, I agree with you on the promo. He gets taken out real quick, and we get a impromptu Riddle Ricochet match. It was good.
Yeah, right. I was actually, here's the thing. I was thinking interference with this, no interference, but Matt Riddle, like when he's not doing his pay-per-view level match, his TV, I'm not actually really doing anything meaningful tonight match, you can feel it.
You can tell he's going through the motions. Here's where I'm going to do my Pele kick. Here's where I'm going to do this. Here's where I'm going to do that. Here's my bro Derek or whatever. Yeah, no, I agree. It was, he gets up for big time matches. He needs to get up for these television shows as well.
I think part of that's agenting. Like what they need to do with a match like this is, okay, there needs to be a story. Like, I don't know, work Ricochet's leg. Something to get Matt Riddle to be thinking a little bit like an MMA fighter as he's calling his match.
Yeah, a little surprised at this match, to be honest with you. I was, but...
Surprised as in surprised with how underwhelmed you were with it?
I think we saw this in Dallas, didn't we? Was this where Ricochet and Riddle fought?
Did. Yes.
Together? I think we were both at the same show, too.
Yeah.
And it was that one
they
was
had good barbecue.
Everybody was just like, man, Riddle hasn't been here long. This was one of the best matches ever, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay. And then we get this, and you're just like, meh, okay. That's what they decided to do with a Riddle, Matt Riddle Ricochet match that we may never see again. Okay.
Very, very strange. Then we had Nakamura and Cesaro come out, and they attacked Riddle.
Yeah. T-shirt wars, everybody.
It's just bloodless. Like there's no rhyme nor reason. You know that this fever, it's more than T-shirt wars. It's T-shirt fever. It drives everyone crazy. You put on the T-shirt and you lose your mind.
You know what it is? It's the company picnic, and accounting is facing marketing.
Field day gone too far?
Yes, it's field day stuff. It's not like, and it's not like anybody's taking it's like the company softball game seriously and going, yeah, man, in accounting, we're going to kick your ass. There's no passion to this whatsoever. They're just, we're wearing a blue shirt and we're going to beat on you a bit. But why are we doing it? Because we love the SmackDown brand. Do you believe any of these guys go home, look in the mirror and go, yeah, I'm part of SmackDown, bitch? There's not that.
It's just not gonna happen. No,
yeah, man, look at me. I'm getting the raw red. I'm finally on the A show.
These matches could be so cool, and they go out of their way, and they end up being cool in the ring, right? But it's like with like a fart contest along the way for 4 weeks, when you could have a story that's slowly bubbling over, I would say 6 months. I would actually start planting some of the seeds for War Games with just little interbrand squabbles that never fully get resolved. And then we pick back up that thread in 3 months. Like you plant a little seed, you come back to it. Like this could be a really fun narrative beat in this company's year. Every year. And instead it's like, well, now you got T-shirt fever and you just need to kill.
Yeah, pretty much. And of course, there's Finn Balor in all black, just doing his thing, being the lone wolf, and I'm cool with that. That's actually an interesting twist.
Honestly, this has helped get him going and not be lost. Like, reintroducing Tommaso Ciampa, we were worried initially that Tommaso and Finn might be jamming each other's lanes, especially with regards to Adam Cole. And Finn's very much in his nice own little spot right now. It's interesting. Then Kaylee Ray faces Dakota Kai.
You got to explain this to me. You really do, because
God, don't please.
Here, back off, because I'm a little worked up over this one. Because basic storytelling 101 says that now not Kaylee Ray, but Dakota Kai has to factor into this women's War Games thing. There is no reason to put her out there as the sacrificial lamb to get Kaylee Ray over for War Games to the American crowd, other than the fact that they have to pay this off at War Games. If they don't, this is a mistake of planning, not of epic proportions, but it ranks high on the things that just annoy the hell out of me about this company sometimes, because you have Chelsea Green, you have Deonna Purrazzo, you have Lacey Lane, you have you have local competitors in the Orlando area. You could bring in Amber Nova to die at the hands of Kaylee Ray. You could have Santana Garrett and her family sob story to die at the hands of Kaylee Ray. You have plenty of people to feed to Kaylee Ray, and you chose Dakota Kai. Now, if you didn't do this for any reason other than, well, she's a good competitor and we can beat her, then this entire thing with her has been an absolute waste of time. I liked the match. I liked that Dakota Kai continues to show a little bit more viciousness, but when she came out, everybody watched and went, she's dead, and they tuned out immediately.
Yeah.
They just went, this geek who gets beat up.
I didn't think she had a chance. There was only two options. There was one, it was going to be another non-finish match, and so I'm already mentally disengaged. Or two,
or she was going to lose her thing.
Or she was going to lose. Yeah, right, which also mentally makes me disengage. But because I've already figured out the option tree here. Kaylee Ray is not losing this match.
Yeah, the interesting choice might be you have Dakota Kai absolutely lose her stuff and just have the worst DQ in wrestling, which is kicking too much ass. You could have done that, and maybe it would have helped something. But yeah, everybody looked at this and went, because there's nothing invested in. They had the Dakota Kai story. People got invested on it. They gave her a huge comeback, applause. She's crying. It's great. She cuts a promo. She hugs Tegan Knox. They have a tag team match. They're doing great. Blah, blah, blah. She's back to just being Dakota Kai who got bullied by Shayna Baszler again. And they're going to have to either rebuild her again or turn her and make her reborn. But if she doesn't factor into this finish in the War Games, then why are we watching this?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that really, she's got to go heel at War Games. She's got to betray Tegan Knox. I think that's the angle now. Tegan,
I have an idea for another story, but yeah.
You were a lousy friend to me. You didn't even stand up to me when Mia Yim was inserted into, this War Games team. You act like I'm not even there. Now do you see me? Something like that.
Next,
the Viking Raiders versus the Forgotten Sons.
What did we do to deserve this?
I've worked hard my whole life is the answer.
we see the Forgotten Sons and the Viking Raiders getting into it in the parking lot. Okay. Forgotten Sons are there to lose, but they don't get squashed. We have a long, drawn-out match. We have Jackson Riker interfering. And
why
then
was
Laundry
Riker
Wars.
not in this match, though? It seems...
Because he only wrestles singles or in six-man. He does not wrestle as a part of the Forgotten Sons team. In terms of the tag team. The tag team...
That makes no sense, though, considering who the opponents are. I understand that as a general practice. I get that as a general preference, and you want the tag team to be thought of as Blake and Cutler. But it feels like the Viking Raiders might necessitate a little bit more size alongside Cutler.
You'd think there'd be strategy to this. Like, hey, there's this big team. Let's put the biggest guy on our team.
These guys have never played NBA Jam, is what I'm trying to say.
Let's put Rick Smits and Reggie Miller out there instead of Person and Miller. Yeah. Or Detlef Schrempf. Detlef Schrempf was the guy. Yeah, I give me, I was hoping for, my Forgotten Sons UK to come out too, but no. Next.
They were forgotten. After that, we have a video package with Adam Cole.
Yeah. I wish I liked it. I wish he had ended it with Boom, but I like.
Yes, right. I was waiting for Boom. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I was waiting for Boom.
Yeah, but I like it.
He's a great champ. He really is. He's one of those guys that that he makes the belt better as opposed to just has the title. I mean, and this is no offense to guys like even Finn or Nakamura or Bobby Roode or Samoa Joe or people of that era. But
see, that's interesting. I actually think that he's doing kind of a Bobby Roode move, and I think Bobby
a bit.
Yeah, I think Bobby actually was good.
I did. You know what?
In terms
of
working
him.
the act, and I think the whole. His rebrand of the belt and adding that prestige and class dynamic, that kind of Ric Flair-ish element. I thought all those vignettes were great.
The whole robe thing and the presentation thing. I might be discounting Rude because he was put in there against guys that you're just like, well, it'll be a match, and his match never stole the show, so to speak. So maybe I'm just discounting him a bit too much. So mea culpa on me. I like Robert Roode a lot. I do. I think he has.
He's underrated. It's weird because he doesn't have great matches, but I think he's a great talent, which is kind of a different thing.
He has that championship presence, and he has that classy presence, and he has that Rick Rude, you want to watch him all the time type presence, but he never gets the chance because I think he's an underrated promo. And I think if they had given him, if they had taken the restraints off versus making him just go to, and they call that glorious, all that crap every time to get to the tagline, as opposed to just letting him talk and maybe giving him a manager. Like, I thought this team with him and Ziggler could have been something too, but they're just going to be mechanics in there, making other guys look good.
Nothing
can be
anything on WWE main roster because they don't invest in character development. Characters don't really matter, and like kind of that. What's the interplay between Rude and Ziggler? That's a question that like no one's going to ask in a writing meeting, and even if it gets asked, it won't be followed through on screen to a point where anyone will be thinking in those terms.
I think next is a tag team match. We've already gone through that. Am I correct?
No, you're wrong. It's about Adam Cole facing Dominik Dijakovic in a ladder match. Oh,
yes, the ladder match. How can I put this? Adam Cole, I think, needs to work a different style against Dominik Dijakovic than he works against Johnny Gargano. Because, like, the Panama Sunrise on Dominik Dijakovic looks ridiculous. The Nasty Plunge, look, I'm going to be impressed by any man that big who takes a fall into another ladder, that you're risking your health, you're doing your bump card. I was slightly underwhelmed by this ladder match. I know they were playing it safe.
No, and the other thing is, bad call.
You have to play it safe because they're doing matches all weekend.
A week after you did that knockdown, drag out, insanely awesome match of the year contender ladder match with Mia Yim. I don't understand. I mean, I get the stip. I get it. And I get how a ladder match makes some sort of narrative sense for this, but
and stakes. It gives it stakes of who gets the.
No, I think the stakes are good. The stakes are good. I just think that doing a ladder match a week after doing a ladder match was a bad call, and doing a ladder match going into War Games when you need to make sure that those two guys are safe going into War Games means that you have to do a muted ladder match. So this was otherwise a logical decision, but not logical when you consider the calendar and what's on either side of this week.
Yeah, care must be taken with these guys. If you're going to put them in something called War Games, you don't want them going to war 2 days beforehand to, in war,
the battles come one after another, Jeff. It's not just one big battle and then the war's over.
Yes, but War Games is one of your big takeovers. I understand the joke. I'm not no-selling it.
No, you are. This is yet another one of your classic no-sells that hurts my feelings and I take to the grave.
You can reach him at Chris Novembrino. But yeah, I mean, if they're going to do all this crazy stuff in the cage, and you kind of hope it's brutal, you don't want them doing brutal 2 days beforehand. But I get that. That's fine.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Shall we move on to another show? Where would you like to go?
Well, we'll go to the ending here of NXT because I think it's going to lead to at least something. Because
Seth Rollins. Yeah,
Seth Rollins, the former Universal Champion, makes an appearance. Super kicks Adam Cole. I'm figuring they're setting this up for Survivor Series in some way. Raw and last week's SmackDown have kind of been indicating some things in terms of the 5-on-5 team. We'll do our predictions on that. But, I thought those overall, I mean, look, the invasion part was overkill because it just kept coming and coming.
Oh my God, everything's an invasion every single match. It's too much. Yeah. And it's like that on every single show.
But I like the interplay between Cole and Rollins, and I think they work really well together. But so, I mean, I liked it. I liked Drew McIntyre coming in. Almost call him Drew Galloway. Is that the name they use? As a former champ, I think that was kind of cool. Yeah, so I mean, you get the alumni section of NXT involved in a lot of these matches, and you got the goodwill of Full Sail. That part of the planning was great. I just thought it was a bit overkill on, hey, we got to invade on every single match.
Yeah, I think the invasion stuff has played the best on NXT. I think that it feels the audience is kind of the most on board with what's occurring on NXT. The WWE main roster live audience, like there's a little bit of duh going on in that crowd. They are not following a lot of this stuff.
Let's quickly go through UK because we still have predictions to go.
Absolutely. NXT UK. What begins this show? Because I thought I was clicking on UK.
This was this is Trent
7. That's right.
Against Kona Reeves. The promo was just, I hated this promo. I hated everything about this promo. You're too fat to be a wrestler kind of thing. I'm the finest,
it's okay. All right. We got a little bit of a debate here.
I did like the line about NXT UK being the brother with snaggled
with
teeth
crooked teeth.
Like
Yeah.
No, that was cool.
Okay. So this is what I like about it. One, Kona's whole gimmick here is that he's an idiot who is super obsessed with cosmetic looks.
Yes.
I think actually it's even better now that he's made all the work on his body to really kind of take himself to another level. Like, it's this character's singular obsession if you run with the whole on-screen thing. So he doesn't see the merits of a guy like Trent Seven and doesn't see how this guy is a star and how this guy actually does have a look and has a style and how women could actually be drawn to a guy like Trent Seven and think he's kind of cute, actually.
Let me tell you something. Trent Seven does fine with the women.
I'm sure he does. Right.
I'll tell you off air.
I have no doubt. He's a dapper guy. And so I love Kona Reeves being the ignorant, shallow guy getting put in his place by Trent Seven, who we keep referring to as the Dusty Rhodes of this brand. Dusty Rhodes, not exactly someone who did a ton of ab work.
No, and my God, I get sending him to other territories, but both Aaliyah, who by the way, broken nose, work. I kind of thought something was up, but I didn't say it because I didn't want to seem foolish. But she's getting surgery, cosmetic in nature, and Kona Reeves. These guys have been in this system forever. They've improved, but not enough. Send them Send him to a dojo somewhere. Send him to some indies to just start working, because these guys should be much better than they are, especially a guy that has talent like Kona Reeves. It's driving me insane at this point, because he's never going to reach what they want him to reach being in this system, because they're just doing drills. They're not really...
Yes. No, he needs to go elsewhere. He needs seasoning.
It's the system quarterback fallacy. It's like, look, we'll get a quarterback in here. We'll teach him our system. But if he never goes out there and plays other schemes and stuff like that, he's never a well-rounded quarterback. That's all I want Kona Reeves to be. Liked the match. Trent Seven, great as usual. Probably the best babyface they have in NXT UK, other than the big strong boy. Yeah, it was fine.
What came after that?
Oh, God, I don't have the results.
I don't have the results either. We taped this early this week, so you got to work off your brain.
I didn't have that. Let's vamp. You're gonna.
I'm gonna vamp. All right. So let's see what's going on here in recent Chris news. So my Steph Curryless team. I traded away Steph Curry, and I actually managed to save the fantasy basketball team. I'm sure you were all very excited about that. Good job, Chris. Yes, nailing it once again. I bought a cat tower for the cats. A little bit of behavioral issues with my youngest one, Shadow. He's been chasing my oldest one, Hazy, around a lot recently, and so I decided that I wanted to kind of get some of his young pup energy out, and I bought a cat tower. He's loving that. We're also walking him on a harness. Hawkins thinks that's strange. Shadow loves it, though.
It's just weird to walk a cat on a leash.
It is not weird to walk a cat on a leash. What is weird is to not love your pets.
Okay, so after the match, of course, Trent Seven in the crowd, glad handing, all that other good stuff. Eddie Dennis.
Yeah. Eddie Dennis. I actually kind of like this reappearance of Eddie Dennis.
Yeah, so Eddie Dennis.
He always looks good in a suit. Well,
yes,
hopefully he won't be in gym shorts.
Yes, I'm looking forward to his rebirth. I liked his promos. God, it's been at least 2 months since we saw the last promo of his.
This poor guy, I feel like we're going to do the same character with him again. The dream keeps getting deferred even longer for Eddie Dennis.
A-Kid versus Jack Stars. I did not expect this match to go off. I thought someone was coming in to give him a beating. But no, A-Kid.
Unfinished business with the Cassius Ohno that they just kind of floated out there, but apparently that's just part of the A-Kid build. It's weird. They got over the idea that the A stands for anonymous, and he was the anonymous kid. I think they're being a little too subtle on that. And then also, people were kind of on board with Jack Stars again, in no small part because Jack Stars looks a lot bigger than the last time you saw him on TV.
And he also dies every time he's out there. That's the Jack Stars thing, is he comes out, he gets killed, dragged to the back. He's the designated red shirt of NXT UK. And eventually people get behind that. They want to see him get a win. So I can understand that. I think A-Kid's good for this brand.
I would have had him against a heel, though. And I think, Jordan Devlin coming in a little later on here helps get the A-Kid thing back on track. But I don't necessarily like going to Devlin right away either.
Yeah, and I also think, it's one of those things where A-Kid needs to show some personality rather than just being, here's who he is. He's a kid. And they bring him out there and he's very athletic, because that's the Ligero Travis Banks,
Ligero is just upset that the fans were denied a finish to the match. That has to go in terms of one-line bad promos. That might be an all-time one-line bad promo. That's not on Ligero. That is a horrible piece of scripted dialogue.
Ginny comes out looking only as she can look to do a backstage promo with Jazzy and Radzi.
They brought some coherence to the pinfall of Jazzy Gabbard.
Mm-hmm. Ginny is, of course, not impressed with Piper Niven. Very good clash of styles here. I'm looking forward to it, but I look forward to anything Ginny does. Talks down Radzi, which always gets high marks from my book, and then walks away. Fine little promo.
No, but she ruffles Jazzy Gabbard's feathers a couple of times throughout the promo, and Jazzy sells it with her eyes.
It's the beginning of the turn. It's the beginning of the beast turning on the master. Yeah. And we called this. I mean, this is the natural story.
There's nothing wrong with telling a predictable story if you've got the right characters casted for the story you're telling.
When you start saying, yes, she failed to do this, and then you go, well, wait a second, jerk, where were you with this?
Piper Niven never pinned me.
Yeah, she never pinned me. Yeah, the too arrogant by half, cocky loudmouth with the brute just going, she's trying to take credit for my work. Good with the story. Love the story. Grizzled Young Veterans came out. Zach Gibson, put it in my veins. Love that guy.
I love him. That man's great. He's so funny. Like that. We just want what's best for you people.
What is Gibson wearing? What
Drake? Drake is Drake has to be. They are Dumb and Dumber. It's awesome.
Not Gibson. Drake. You're right. Sorry. The smoking jacket, the blue smoking jacket with like palm trees, the black pants that are way too short
and way too tight,
with no socks and loafers. I don't know if I love this because it's obvious he's trying to play classy and he's not, or if I hate it because he's making these bold fashion choices and thinks they look good. I don't know where I am on this, Chris. Where am I on this?
I think it's terribly amusing because these guys are a little bit delusional. Like, they're the former tag team champions, and yes, they are good, but they are grizzled young veterans, which is oxymoronic. Like, they are, they've been doing this for a while, but a veteran by their very nature is older, and it's not just about how much combat experience you've had, it's about how much life seasoning you've had. You can only have 40 years of life experience by living 40 years, or by going through like horrible traumas. But in most cases, one's veteran status, and the healthy veteran status, comes from being a little bit older. So what you have here with the grizzled young veterans are two guys who think that, like, low-key, they've been wrestling for 25 years.
The genius of this promo, to me, is that it's actually a babyface promo, but they know by being heels and trying to give this kind of promo, they're just going to continue to get heat. Because they go with the local sports legend with the statue and the plaque. They're basically begging to be put in this tag team title match.
But it's super disingenuous, like them caring about the kid. Fair play. It's really about fair play, Jeff.
It's really about fairness, guys. We have a resume. We should.
We just want what's best for you. No, there's nothing disingenuous.
We just want the fans to be happy. I died at that line. I absolutely love. I go, you were this. This was a promo. This is one of the better promos in NXT UK history, possibly the best. I adored it. I loved it. Yeah, no, we just want the fans to be happy. Like, it's a memorable line. I will remember that line. I will remember Gibson saying it. I also enjoyed that he kept referring to Sid Scala as Skid. Skid.
Yeah, and there was a point where James Drake, he started to corpse, and he had to, like, grab his mouth and, like, reset his face. It was funny.
Jordan Devlin gives us his TED Talk.
Yes!
Love this.
Thank you for attending my talk at the end.
Thank you for attending my talk. I love that end. I died. I love Jordan Devlin, too. God, I wish I could give him a bigger stage.
No, he's too good to be a heel, too. I think this guy needs to be a trash-talking babyface.
Rich Holland debuts, the ex-Luke Menzies.
Yes, we liked Luke Menzies.
We like Luke Menzies a lot. I kind of like his getup. I don't like.
It reminds me a little too much of the Big Bully.
The club, Big Bully Busick, a little bit.
And I kind of like the Big Bully Busick, not like as a worker, but as a character. But I don't know that I like that this reminds me of the Big Bully.
They put over that he trained with a local legend, so they had his mentor out there.
That was weird. It was weird because he's obviously a heel. Right. So to give him this like local legend rub thing is a strange little beat in this. And he comes down. He's working a Peaky Blinders style gimmick. And then he beats up Oliver Carter.
Is Peaky Blinders any good? I haven't watched it.
I haven't watched it, but that was what was invoked, and I believe the name of the gang's actually the Peaky Blinders.
Yes,
or whatever.
that's what. Yes, a historical reference, but I know they have the TV show. And
they do. The guy who played Scarecrow in the Batman movies.
Yeah, he's in it, and also the guy who I think of as Mir Carcetti, Littlefinger from Game of Thrones, Aidan Quillen, I think his name is. He's in it too. Yeah, no, I kind of want to see it, but
for sure.
Yeah,
but so he beats up Oliver Carter. We get to
this is
you know what's good
NXT
about this
debut.
match? This is an NXT debut, but the one thing that the NXT debut tends to be good at that other debuts are not so good at is I now know what Ridge Holland's series of moves are.
Yes.
I know what his setup is. I know what his finish is. They called out the name of his take off your cap or your doff your cap or whatever the line is. That's the setup for his little power slam thing. They called out both the moves. Tom and Nigel.
The Northern Grit is also
the Northern Grit. Yeah, the Northern Grit. Tom and Nigel are low key a very, very, very good commentary team.
They're outstanding.
On this. Yes, because you can close your eyes and actually follow the action, which is a thing that you cannot say for a lot of different products.
Well, here's the other thing: is Tom was sneaky good on NXT as well. When he doesn't have to be the hard shill and is an actual play-by-play guy as opposed to selling you vacuum cleaners and dessert toppings, he's fantastic. And I think he can just let loose here because he does try and needle Nigel a bit too. He's a little bit looser. He's not being produced as tightly because Vince doesn't care about NXT UK, and he's perfectly fine here. He really is.
It makes the show more enjoyable.
Yes. And I think Nigel can then play his heel role a little bit more here because he has more of a straight-laced veteran. Not that, kid who just went to Raw, play-by-play guy.
Vic Joseph
was fine, but he was a little stiff at times. Noam Dar meets up with Oliver Carter and Ashton Smith. All we need is one. All we need is one win. Yeah, good luck with that, Ashton. And then
the gooberiest one win will turn it around. I'm like, no,
not for you.
That's not how wrestling works. No, but like, you don't just have one good match and then you're done.
So Oliver Carter is or is it Ashton or Oliver that's gonna die at the hands of Noam Dar next?
So
week?
Ashton's gonna die to Noam Dar, and then Oliver's gonna get the win back.
Maybe that. You know what? That could finally get him straight. Because
no,
he's
he's already dead.
He's the Dakota Kai of NXT UK right now. He really is.
They completely blew it with this guy.
They killed him dead first week. Unbelievable.
Stunning.
And then your main event, Ilya Dragunov versus Alexander Wolf. I had a fun time with this. I gotta admit, Ilya grates on me in certain ways. The contacts, the delusional smaller guy thing, but I think Alexander Wolf was fantastic in this match.
I didn't like his promo at all leading into this match. I thought Ilya Dragunov, introducing this whole, he's my mentor, all the tone. And
he was never your mentor. What the hell are you talking about?
No, it's a tone
at
that's really
TV.
detached. On TV, never.
Yeah.
Maybe outside, I don't know. But that's not the story that we're getting told here on NXT UK. It's sort of adjacent to the more interesting question of, all right, so, what is the relationship between you and Gallus at this point? What do you guys do? Have you talked? Are you...
Yeah.
There's, just much more interesting questions than having Ilya Dragunov talking about how beating Alexander Wolf tonight will be like beating his mentor, and it'll be a massive victory for him.
Wolf wins as he should, and Imperium comes out for the beatdown. Gallus makes the save. We get the stare down with the title between Joe Coffey and Walter, which will be your main event for NXT TakeOver Blackpool.
They did a nice job protecting Ilya Dragunov with the way they finished out that match too. I like that.
The kick out in
was,
the one,
yes,
and then the pin with the power bomb.
Exactly. I thought that there's the interference. He still gets back into the driver's seat for a second, but it's just enough interference to get Wolf the win. But I thought that was balanced out very, very nicely.
Okay, long show for you kids this week, but we do it out of love. We're going to preview both War Games and Survivor Series. I'm just going to run it down. I'll ask your opinions. 4-match card for NXT TakeOver Saturday night on the WWE Network. I am stoked for this. I think any of these matches could possibly steal the show in some ways. Number one contender for the NXT Championship. They will fight at Survivor Series. Pete Dunne versus Killian Dane versus Damian Priest. I think this is fairly simple. I think Pete Dunne is going to be facing Cole at Survivor Series. But you know what? If Vince gets this call, I could see Damian Priest. But I think the easy call here is Pete Dunne having a match on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's Pete Dunne. It just doesn't make any sense to turn Killian Dane. Or I'm sorry, not Killian Dane. It doesn't make any sense to turn Killian Dane, but it doesn't make any sense to turn Damian Priest either.
Matt Riddle taking on Finn Balor in a singles match. I think Riddle continues to lose.
Yeah, I think Riddle loses. No, Finn Balor has to win that match. We need to reestablish this new heel Finn Balor, and Matt Riddle, maybe the losing streak storyline wouldn't be the worst thing in the world right now.
I think Finn does not win clean, though. Let's go with that.
Yeah, maybe he low blows Matt Riddle or something like that.
Yeah, I think he has to win by DQ, or has to win by cheating, or he has to be DQ'd, and maybe Matt Riddle gets a win by DQ. But I just do not see. I can't see them. They've been beating Riddle clean in big matches too much lately. Maybe chicanery this time. So on the women's side, Rhea Ripley, Candice LeRae, Tegan Nox, and Mia Yim take on Shayna Baszler, Io Shirai, Bianca Belair, and Kaylee Ray in the first ever women's War Games match. Chris, who do you have in this? I'm going to let you go first.
I think the heels win. Going with the baby faces because you think they're going to try to push Rhea Ripley.
I don't know, because I don't know if this lineup stands. In the back of my mind, I'm still seeing that story from a couple weeks ago, I think, where maybe Mia Yim gets replaced by Dakota Kai and they have no faith in her whatsoever. And either she turns heel on them for not having faith in her, or she wins and they
this is the way you make Dakota Kai sting with the crow face paint.
Or in order to build her up for Shayna. I don't know.
And Tegan Nox is like Lex Luger and doesn't understand what's going on through Dakota Kai's mind. I am into that storyline if they want to do that.
I would be too. I think conventional wisdom is you are correct, because all four of these heels are fairly powerful. And somehow you keep Rhea Ripley strong. Maybe she destroys Dakota Kai for trying to interfere. I just think you have to have Dakota Kai involved in this somehow. I don't know if they replace her or if she tries to interfere and it backfires on her, but something has to happen here.
Trench Dakota Kai.
Yeah. But I see the babyfaces losing this one.
Yeah, I think so.
And on the men's side, the Undisputed Era, Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong take on Tommaso Ciampa, Keith Lee, Dominik Dijakovic, and a player to be determined. Chris, let's do this. Let's pick someone who you think it will probably be, and pick someone who could be out of left field that you would go, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Okay. Who I think it will be. Is Johnny in a match on this show?
Johnny cannot compete, apparently, because he has not been cleared by the doctor. That might be a work, but I believe it to be true.
Okay. So my gut still says Johnny. It just seems like the intrigue, especially during that show that night, is can Johnny and Tommaso work together? And there's no dynamic with Tommaso that's going to quite be the same as that. Again, and that would make sense with the Dominik Dijakovic and Keith Lee thing. Strange friends coming together. That's got to be the pairing here. So who's the foil for Tommaso Ciampa who's interesting? Oh, golly.
Well, you're thinking of the out-of-the-box one. I will go with the straight-ahead one that I think it's going to be. I actually think they're going to bring in Walter.
Walter?
As the UK champ, because they have the UK women's champ here. It's an uneasy alliance of sorts.
Sure.
Or whatever. It's absolutely ridiculous because then you have three giants against tiny heels. But my out-of-the-box pick will be absolute. I mean, I think Kevin Owens might be a good pick here as well.
That's interesting.
Pop the crowd. I think for straight ahead picks, I think those are my two thoughts, are either Kevin Owens or Walter, because Kevin Owens coming back after getting a beatdown on Friday by the Undisputed Era, I think he comes back home to NXT after the
he's
big
got
Hunter
unfinished
promo.
business
Yes.
with the Undisputed. So my one outside the box one, I definitely feel like the dark horse now would be Tyler Bate.
Tyler Bate is one I thought about too. He's a good pick as well. My way outside the box thing is bringing a main roster person who's a former NXT champ, but you are not expecting in any way, just to kind of get that, oh, they're doing this with him.
Shinsuke Nakamura.
Biggie Langston.
Okay, Big E would actually be a lot of fun, too.
And then it would set up also the tag match on Survivor Series between Undisputed Era and the New Day in some ways. I think that would be intriguing because they've been doing a lot of this NXT alumni type thing. I think Big E would be an interesting one to kind of go, okay, what do we have with the singles guy here? It's way out of the box. I don't expect them to ever do it. You
want someone who can play off of Tommaso. So, again, one more out of the box one. Sami Zayn coming home and trying to convince Tommaso Ciampa that he loves this brand. He really wants to be here and he wants to be on the team. And you're never sure if he's actually going to turn on the faces and just side with the Undisputed Era because he's now a little shitbird Sami Zayn. I think that could be fun. I don't think they're going to do that, but
I also expect the babyface side to implode on this side.
Match. So you think the heels are going to win both War Games, huh?
That's my problem. That's why I'm thinking maybe Dakota gets inserted into the women's and somehow wins it for them.
She saves the day.
Saves the day because
womp, womp.
Because there's no way you can have these big guys on this babyface team against these small conniving heels who all work together and think of a way out other than maybe Dijakovic and Lee come to blows in the middle of the match, and then the Undisputed Era take advantage of that on Ciampa or something, and then they wonder why the fourth guy didn't help. But Triple H is teasing this fourth guy as being an epic choice, so I'm intrigued, but I don't think I'm going to be too intrigued until I see who it is. And then I'll go, oh, man, that's fascinating if it pops me. If it's somebody like Gargano, well, he's welcome back. I like him.
Yeah, right. And that doesn't feel epic. But yeah, I just want something for the babyface team is going to implode, so you need something for Tommaso Ciampa to sink his teeth into coming out of this. So yeah. Maybe that's Velveteen Dream?
Could be Velveteen Dream. Could be Finn Balor. I mean,
that would be really interesting. Yeah, and you have him there, and it's not clear whose side he's on. I think that's going to be kind of the theme of the night in both these matches. Questions about is everyone truly loyal on one side of the team?
So, have that. I think that's going to be the show of the weekend. As usual, I think it's going to be a great show. If you have to pick one, pick that one.
Always pick the NXT show.
Yes,
that's been true for 5 years.
Never doubt them. So Sunday, we get the Survivor Series. Go in order from bottom to top of the Wikipedia listings. Adam Cole taking on whoever wins the triple threat for the NXT Championship. I think Adam Cole is obviously going to retain no matter who it is. I think Pete Dunne will have a lot of goodwill, but I just don't see them beating Cole just yet.
Well, why would you beat Cole at Survivor Series? I think that they want to have title drops of the NXT title be on NXT TakeOver shows.
I would agree. So we're united on that. Next up for the WWE Universal Championship, The Fiend Bray Wyatt taking on Daniel Bryan. We are not sure because we have not watched SmackDown how this angle ends because we're taping this before SmackDown.
I bet you it ends with
Yes, you don't have to put on the red light.
But I could.
But they will, and I believe The Fiend will retain, perhaps with Sammy interfering in some way to screw over Daniel Bryan. Yeah, that one's easy. Brand Supremacy triple threat match. AJ Styles taking on Shinsuke Nakamura, taking on Roddy Strong. They are baiting me hard with this one because I think this one could be knockdown drag out, and then it could be the dream match of Nakamura versus AJ Styles again, where he gets kicked in the balls. But I'm looking forward to what we get out of this. I will say that
with Roderick Strong and AJ Styles, you feel almost confident that you're going to get Goodsuke.
Yeah. It just depends how much time they give them, or if they want to do a story match. It's one of those weird things.
Also true.
Who do you have winning this? Because I'm
going to say Roderick Strong gets the win here.
I'm wondering if there's going to be a theme of NXT is going to go over strong despite being over strong on all the beatdowns, or if they get beat all night. That's the thing I'm wondering right now.
Well, and if they are going over strong here, maybe that also kind of helps cool the sting of not coming up short at War Games. So maybe we were right. We never actually answered who we thought was winning between the heels and the faces.
On which one?
On War Games. With
oh, yeah, we did. I picked the Undisputed Era.
You said the Undisputed. Oh, okay. I never said anything, but it doesn't really matter.
Who do you think?
I'm going to just keep it interesting. I'll say the babyfaces. I think the babyfaces find a way to get the win.
Yeah, and I think that would make, whoever they bring in go look good.
Right, yeah, that's what I think. Maybe that return or that whoever they're bringing in ends up getting a real kind of like rocket strapped to them.
For this one, I like Roddy as well. I think this will be maybe NXT's lone win in the triple threats of some kind, or we'll see. 5-on-5 men's triple threat. Good God, these triple threats are going to go a long time with multiple people. Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, and Ricochet taking on Roman Reigns, Mustafa Ali, Braun Strowman, King Corbin, and Shorty G, taking on whoever the hell survives the War Games pay-per-view, and probably a couple of cannon fodder like an Isaiah Swerve Scott or whoever. Team NXT to be determined. Do you have any strong thoughts on who's going to be on that team or not, or any thoughts on this match?
We're going to say the Raw team wins.
I think it's fairly obvious team. Well,
I just don't see the SmackDown team winning with King Corbin on it. Now that they've made Chad Gable into Shorty G, anything he does, I feel, is automatically going to lose.
Yeah, but if Owens, for some reason, implodes that Raw team by taking out Orton or McIntyre or Ricochet, I'm going to say, yeah, Team Raw wins this, I think. I think it's going to be fairly easy, although I think they're going to eliminate the NXT guys fairly quick. I think they're eventually going to try and do an underdog story with Shorty G by eliminating a few people other than Roman Reigns.
Shorty G versus Randy Orton for a minute might be fun.
That might be fun. It might be fun. It might be great. It might just be an absolute cluster. Who knows?
There's too many people around the ring for this match. It's just a lot of bodies.
Team Raw, Charlotte Flair, Natalya, Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Sarah Logan versus Team SmackDown of Sasha Banks, Carmella, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, and Nikki Cross, taking on whatever women are left out of NXT after War Games. I have a tendency to think it's going to be most of the babyface team, Shayna, and maybe Dakota Kai in there. I don't know. Maybe you get Vanessa Bourne. Maybe you get Taynara Conti.
No, I think you're right. Shayna, Dakota Kai, Rhea Ripley, Tegan Nox.
And maybe
Nox. No, because I do think coming out of War Games here, a little bit of friction between Tegan and Dakota.
Whoever's not hurt, basically, but mostly baby faces and Shayna. I tend to think Raw wins this one too. Maybe Io Shirai. Io Shirai has to be on it for Kairi Sane.
Yeah. I'm gonna say no. Man, I'll say SmackDown.
SmackDown. Sasha and Nikki Cross survive, I think, because they really like both of them.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they like Nikki.
The Viking Raiders take on the New Day, take on the Undisputed Era in a brand supremacy triple threat. No revival as of this time. They could be added, I think. But right now, I think the Undisputed Era win this one. I think they keep them strong all night, have all four win.
Yeah, I agree. I think the one thing that they've been really good about ever since the NXT brand launch on TV is they've been pushing the Undisputeds really strong and keeping them very strong in booking patterns. And I think that you're right. I think the theme here is the Undisputeds get wins that are in aggregate high profile, but are also peppered through the card in such a way that they don't necessarily stick out to you immediately while they're happening.
Becky Lynch versus Bayley versus Shayna Baszler in a brand supremacy triple threat match of all the women's champions. Again, SmackDown yet to air, so I don't know how that ends. But I think Aunt Pam's getting the win. Aunt Pam has a new haircut, has a new attitude. I think Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler beat the crap out of each other, and somehow Bayley rolls up Becky Lynch for the win here.
I think you gotta go further though. I think Bayley needs to these are no disqualification, right?
Yes, triple threat. There are no DQs.
Yeah, I think Bayley needs to go weapons, like in a heavy and hard way.
This is the match I am looking forward to the most, to be honest with you, because I am so intrigued by this. I am so willing.
She's got to kind of maul Becky and Shayna, I think, is what needs to happen here, because she's floundering. She's not good on the microphone. You're never going to be able to build her. Putting her in the commentary booth, you're not going to be able to build her doing these promos. What she needs to do is when she's in the ring, she needs to be really vicious to the point where it actually kind of shocks and horrifies the young kids who were once into Bayley. But now if they're kind of teenagers, they go, it's kind of cool.
Not only that, let's see if she can out-vicious Shayna Baszler.
I agree. Exactly. Shayna needs to be scared of Bayley at the end of this match.
That is exactly how Becky got over on Ronda Rousey, is that she turned out to be more vicious than Ronda Rousey at one point with the kendo sticks and whatnot. I mean, that's really what solidified her being the man to me. That and getting bloodied up by Nia Jax. I think
Bayley and Shayna need to be Shayna and Becky need to end this match or have a point in this match, not for prolonged periods of time, but a point in this match where both of them are legitimately scared of Bayley.
Yes, I would agree. I think you need to put her over huge in this during the story of the match, and then somehow she steals a win. As you got to continue Becky versus Shayna at some point, but I think Bayley needs to steal the win from Becky here. And then finally, because we have all these triple threats where there are no rules, we have a no-holds-barred match for the WWE Championship. Brock Lesnar taking on Rey Mysterio Jr. Does this last more than 2 minutes?
I don't know, but can I just say this about Rey Mysterio's promo on Raw? That was actually low-key pretty good.
I liked it. It's the best promo
yes.
It's the best promo he's ever cut.
Yeah, no, it's really good.
Because he never gets to be intense. He never gets to look at a guy with like any kind of loathing and hatred, even when they were arguing over, even when he and Eddie were arguing over whose son Dominic was.
He felt like a real guy.
Yes, he felt like a real father who was like, look, I may not be able to win this, but I'm bringing this pipe and I'm going to beat the hell out of you with it. And it was very Dusty Rhodes-esque in many ways. He didn't have to, God, the thing I hate about Rey was every promo for every program he did, he'd invoke the spirit of Eddie Guerrero. It's just you're your own dude, man. Just go with that.
The problem with Rey is sometimes he plays, and I get it, it's part of the character, but he plays it like a superhero.
He's scrappy underdog superhero like Shorty G.
He's always a superhero. And he doesn't always need to be a superhero, and he doesn't always need to be like on Lucha Underground, he was like Mickey from the Rocky movies. Like he needs to sometimes just be a guy who plays a superhero, and he's aware that kids look up to him and that he's a hero, but he's also a guy who goes to the Burger King and orders a burger. Like that guy who's kind of aware that I'm wearing a mask. He needs to not actually on the screen. It's like this kind of meta. The character needs to not think that he's actually the character. He needs to think that he's a guy being the character.
You want to get me on my feet, have Rey Mysterio come out in this menacing as hell mask, kind of like
black.
Almost Pentagon or something
black.
like that.
Yeah. I want just the scariest Rey we've ever seen.
A mask of death where he's coming out with this pipe and just ready to, blue jeans, knee pads over blue jeans, the pipe. I'm not going to be doing any of this 619 crap, although I'll do one for the crowd to pop them.
I want him to hit like Brock with mist, like red mist early. It's like, whoa, wait, what's happening here? And then for 5 minutes, he just massacres Brock. And then Brock takes over and
smashes him.
Yeah, and finishes it out, but swiftly because Brock realizes, oh, okay, this needs to stop. I'm getting hurt.
Yeah, and then suplex him 30 times and pin him. I'm fine with that. Yeah, but I think Brock wins this and retains. There's a 10% chance I give of Rey getting the title to be transitional to somebody else, but I don't think that happens tonight.
No, yeah, it would be cool. I actually think that him as at least winning the title off of Brock and kind of getting the redemption would be kind of cool as a little transitional storyline, but I don't think that's what they're doing with them.
So, that is our preview. We have gone through the week. I think we have been very thorough. I hope you've enjoyed this. You can follow me at CrapGame13. You can follow Chris at Chris Novembrino. You can follow Just the Show at Shake Them Ropes. We do have a little bit of a problem with communication in terms of when they upload shows. They no longer automatically go to our feed. So I do my best to retweet them from my account on the Shake Them Ropes account. If you don't want to hear my drivel about professional wrestling, Chris, as he alluded to, is an editor of other fine podcasts he does. Chris, what do you have this week?
Yeah, so don't worry about the government. We got a new episode coming out here for premium members. A little bit of debate breakdown, too, for the free side. We're going to get into all of Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself and my thoughts on that. If you're interested in any of that, you can find that at don'tworry.tv. I'm going to try to rope Lindsay in to tape some more All in the Family podcast episodes here sometimes. Yeah, haha. Try to get her into another episode here of what? Of All in the Family podcast. And golly, I was thinking about editing this show, but I think we should just leave it in its entirety and not ever check any of these shows ever again, because that's the way that you do it in the big time.
Look, Joseph Connors won't be ignored.